I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mamluks. My name is Sim. Along with me is my co-host, Nader Tabata.
And only Blind Truth.
The Blind Truth himself. Nader Tabata, welcome to the show. Nader, for those who don't know, is the founder of Islam by Touch, and he is also working on an audio series for the Seerah. Nader, why don't you quickly tell the listeners a bit about the audio series you're working on, because it's something I love, and I think many people would, as they know about it and get to know about it, they would love to show their children and loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, check us out. I'm all, like you said, I'm the co-founder of Islam by Touch, and I'm also the executive producer of The Sound of Seerah. The Sound of Seerah is an audio series that is on the Seerah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but it's not like a lecture, right? It's a full cast, full dramatization of the Seerah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So just think about a voice actor playing Ali ibn Abi Talib, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Khadija, Umar ibn al-Khattab, everyone. There's a voice actor for everyone except for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And we do full soundscape. It's very, very immersive. It's actually an awesome thing. One reason why we did this is because so much of Muslim media, especially things that are trying to be entertaining, really don't give it their all, right? They kind of half-ass it. So, alhamdulillah, with this, we really give it our all, and we try to put out a quality product, and we make sure we stay on the Seerah the whole way through. Alhamdulillah, we have a scholar on the Seerah that goes over everything to make sure that we're on point. Alhamdulillah, man, it's an awesome effort, and it's all for free. Just go on your podcast feed, go on YouTube. It's called The Sound of Seerah. Make sure you subscribe, and make sure you share, and you let us know. Leave a comment down below, man, on YouTube or whatever, and let us know if you listen to it and if you like it.
Folks, if you like this show, we come on once or twice a week, sometimes on Saturday as well. Please give a like, smash that like button, throw a comment in the comment section below, and if you would be so kind and generous, open up your wallet and throw a couple bucks our way via patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks. You can also donate through PayPal by going to themadmamluks.com/donate. All right. Sheikh Amr is on vacation. Mort is on his way here, so he'll be joining us shortly. So sit tight for you Mort fans. There's a loyal group of followers that Mort has.
There's a loyal Mort contingent.
Yeah. Sometimes some of them, they're like, I'm turning this off. There's no Mort. I'm like, all right, well, I'm pretty nice too. I'm a pretty nice person. You could listen to me.
That's the problem. You're a nice person.
Yeah, Mort's not nice. Mort's just in your face. Yeah, definitely. So, now that you have kind of piggyback off our previous episode with the whole Wissam Sharif scandal. It's not even a scandal. It's just really a predator who was right under our nose that we didn't know of, who was exploiting a child and her mother. You're from that Texas area. You're kind of in the know about certain things that happened. What was your first reaction to hearing what happened?
Okay, so I really haven't I haven't talked publicly about this. I've spoken to friends and all that stuff, but
we haven't even talked either. So this is the first time I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. Mad Mamluks is my home away from home, pretty much, right? So me and Wissam, we actually were working together for a bit there. I was doing a little bit of editing for some of his videos, his older videos. I organized a class with blind Muslims with him, right, to come in and and do some tajweed stuff. And literally, it was like a every other week class that Sam would do with blind Muslims, right? And I would talk to him. Like, I would talk to him probably once a week, once every 2 weeks. We'd get on the phone, right?
Wow.
And this is recent. I'm talking about, I literally talked to him last month, right?
Wow. That's soon. Did you pick up on any of this stuff?
No, this is what I'm saying, man. This is what I mean. I didn't pick up on any of this stuff. None of it. And it affected me to my core for a few reasons, right? Number one, I got 4 kids, bro. You know what I mean? I got 4 kids.
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, I never brought him to my house. Alhamdulillah. And he's not far, right?
Wow.
He lives 40 minutes away from my house, right? So alhamdulillah, never brought him around my house. Alhamdulillah. I knew he was going through some stuff with his marriage. I knew he got divorced, right?
A second time?
Yeah, no, he got divorced the first time.
Yeah.
Right? And he would have his kids whenever he would do the classes. I didn't even know he got remarried. I didn't even know that, to be honest. I had no idea he even got remarried. And when I heard about it, man, it shocked me. It shocked me to my core, right? It shocked me to my core because this guy is someone I spoke to. This guy is someone I joked with. This guy is someone I'm not much of a vulnerable person out in public, right? I'm generally very reserved, right? I'll talk shit all day, but I'm very reserved, right? I would open up to him from time to time. Nothing crazy. Like I said, I won't really go deep with anybody, right? Other than my wife, that's the only person that gets 100% of me all the time, right? But with him, I was getting friendly, and all that stuff. But the thing that really hit me most is that, bro, I was abused when I was a kid. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I was molested when I was a kid. So whenever I see, like I said, I never really talked about this, right? I was molested when I was a kid by a family friend, right? And whenever I heard it was him, he did this. And then I saw the affidavit, right, with all the info on it, bro. It literally like shook me. Till this day, I can't. You know what I mean? It's like a vicious loop, right? Of me just thinking about one thing, and then boom, I see Wissam, and then boom, I go back to being a kid again. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And it's like, how can this person, how can this evil piece of shit, right? How can he be someone right there? I'm talking to him on the phone and I don't see it, right? How the hell did I miss it?
Yeah.
Like that's what's going through my head.
Yeah.
And then talking about this whole thing, and I know you have some updates on it. Let me tell you, bro. A lot of people have been putting takes on this, right? A lot of people have been putting out videos on this, and a lot of people have been having horrible takes on this, right? Horrible takes on this. You know what I mean?
Like give an example.
What Yasser Qadi.
Okay.
Yasser Qadi had a horrible take on this. Like, it was so weak and so it was the wrong video at the wrong time, right? You don't make a video giving up excuses for the institutions, bro. You don't. I'm sorry, you don't. Right? This time, this is way deep. There is no excuse for the institution. There is no excuse for the celebrity sheikhs. There is no excuse for this weak-ass lecture that you gave, and you mentioning how, people come up to me asking me for autographs. What am I supposed to say no? Bro, stop being so arrogant, bro. This is it was the worst take I've heard on this topic. The worst.
So I haven't heard that video, but let me just be the devil's advocate because he's not here to defend himself. Someone who is in his position or any celebrity sheikh's position will say like, hey, listen, Nader, I get 10 people every week. All right. I get 10 people every week saying they're passionate about something that I need to speak about this XYZ issue. I need to make this use my platform to make this an issue. How am I going to give everything its attention? Like, I'm only one person, and everyone's coming to me saying that, hey, my wife is this. There's this one guy on YouTube. He's obsessed with like the scholars in Dallas not giving him and his wife enough attention in solving their or highlighting how horrible of a woman she was because she was in some Dawa circles or whatever.
Yeah, I saw that guy.
Yeah,
I know that guy.
So I mean, there's everyone. I can't even imagine, bro. I'm telling you now that I'm telling. I have a fraction of the following that Yasser Qadi and all these other people have. Okay.
Yeah.
I am telling you, when I receive emails from people all the time, and every part of me wants to help them. My core wants to me, but I don't have the resources to help them. Like I don't.
Right.
And
so then don't put out a lecture. So then don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it if you're gonna half-ass it. You understand?
Yeah.
Like, imagine he put a video. I'll put it to you like this: the whole video was very general, right? It was a very general video, and I would recommend everyone go check out this YouTube channel called Return to Fitra, right?
Yeah.
Because this guy, he actually I don't know the brother's name, but his YouTube video on it, and brother named Nick Pelletier. Nick Pelletier. He put a video out.
So Nick Pelletier. We actually did a whole episode when that stuff went down in 2018. I actually, when he put out this video on YouTube. He was an Imam at Islamic Center of Irving. Is that what the name is?
Yeah, ICI. Yep.
Islamic Center of Irving, and there was a man who was normally not part of the mosque, but he had come to visit from overseas, and he was groping and molesting a boy in I think it was a Jordanian boy, and
it was more than one.
Yeah,
it was more than
or at least more than one, right? And he brought it up as a something that he's going to fight for, and he rightfully so.
And they fired him.
And then they fired him, and
you know who stayed silent? Omar Suleiman, Yasser Birjas, Yasser Qadi. They all actually Yasser Qadi approved the Muslim Matters article that tore him down. Okay, so you know what I mean? Like, these guys, I'm sorry, I give them zero benefits of the doubt.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero. You get nothing from me, especially because I've been attacked by them too, right? Not Yasser Qadi directly, not by him, but by other guys like Yasser Birjas and stuff like that. Like, bro, like, these guys were coming at me, right? And I'm nobody, and I'm a blind guy trying to support the blind community, and the whole you remember the whole situation with that whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But that went further, man. They straight up tried to blacklist me around here, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem, bro. And like, these guys, you have this platform, use it, right? When Gaza happened, when Gaza's happening, you guys go up and it's fire, hellfire and brimstone against the enemy, right? But whenever it's Al Maghrib Institute, right, the institute that put you on, right, now you want to bite your tongue, right? Now you want to hold back.
All right. So what would you say Al Maghrib do? Well, what would you say?
Al Maghrib came out with a weak ass statement saying that there was inappropriate relations or something like that.
I heard from them about that. They said they didn't know. They didn't receive that information when it first came out, or the gravity of what the investigation was.
But they said
what
they
the
did their
allegations
own
were.
investigation.
Yeah, no, they only received just a small bit of information. They didn't know the gravity of that. There was child abuse or anything, and then they released a second statement where they completely distanced themselves from everything and kind of explained, and they condemned him. Right? Did you see the second statement?
The affidavit came out.
Did you see that?
After everybody saw the affidavit.
Yeah, that's when. Yeah, sorry, man, and that's what they're saying. They're saying that's when they found out as well. I'm just telling you.
It's a little too convenient, bro. It really does. I'm sorry. And
that's what they said.
Big organizations, ISNA, ICNA, MAS, and Maghrib. I don't give a shit. Okay, all of you guys lost all of your fucking credibility. Every single last one of you. Okay. Yeah. And my position on this whole situation is the entirety of this nonsense needs to be destroyed and built back up from the ground up. Personally. Yeah. Because it is built on a foundation of garbage, bro.
Let's say you had the ability to do that. Well, how would you have done, or how would you have selected? Because I'm trying to go through in my mind, because I felt the same way as you. I'm like, I met Wissam a couple times, just hi, hello, assalamu alaikum, introductions, stuff like that. nothing really sit down. But I'm like, he didn't strike me as a pedophile.
No, me neither, bro. Like
and
I said,
and so when I try to think, I'm like, okay, if I could do it myself, if I could do a better job myself, then if I was given all the funds that Al Maghrib had and all the reputation and the brand recognition, how would I have vetted this kind of person out? And I can't figure that out. I don't know how you figure out whether someone is a pedophile or not.
What I'm saying is we need to destroy this celebrity sheikh culture. It needs to go. It needs to die.
That's just people will say now that's the way it is. People look up to other human beings, and the sooner you understand that, the better you're going to have an understanding of human nature. Human nature makes us want to have heroes, and I would rather have my son have Yasser Qadi and other celebrity imams as their hero than I would have non-Muslim heroes.
I get that.
You know,
I can understand
because when I saw, I once saw. Here's the thing.
Until they get caught with their pants down.
Here's the thing. Now that when Yasser Qadi came out with a Facebook post a few years ago, and he said, "Hey guys, when you see me, I don't want to shake your hands. I don't want to stop for pictures. I really apologize. I love you all, but I don't want to take pictures. I feel weird about it." And then under his comment section on Facebook, everyone's ripping into him. Everyone's saying like, oh, I would rather have scholars as people that my kids look up to, and you don't want to take pictures with us. Like, well, what is this? Like, you're too big for us. All kinds of different things. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So you have to understand that it's not as simple as that.
At the end of the day, you choose. Listen, okay, you can choose to be a celebrity or not. You know that, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to put out the videos. You don't need to go to the conferences. You can fall off. You could be a hermit, right? Can't you? Yes or no?
Yeah, you can.
You can, right? So I'm sorry. Save the excuses, bro.
Yeah.
Save the excuses. There's no room for it. Because let me put it to you like this. You think Umar ibn Abdul Aziz would be chilling on YouTube right now? You think he'd be talking at an ICNA conference? Hell no. He wouldn't. Yeah. So people want to, because people will go back and like, oh, like these are our heroes and all that. We have heroes, right? We have those people to look up to.
Yeah.
Okay? Bring your knowledge. Fine. Be cool. That's fine. But there's limits, bro. Right? I don't need to see you on CNN, right? I don't need to see you on any of these things, especially because you capitulate so many times, right? If you're going to go on there, you better be the utmost representative, the utmost representative of our point of view, right? I'm not trying. There's no let's shake hands and kumbaya and bullshit. No, all right, and that's what happens, because when you give someone this much power, right? When you give someone this much power, what happens is the skeletons start to pile up, right? The skeletons start to pile up. And I'm not. Listen, I don't know what these guys do behind closed doors. I have no idea, right? I have no idea. But I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. That was a weak-ass video that he put out. He should have never put it out. And those people that have never been affected by stuff like this, right? Let me put it to you like this. The Return of Fitra guy said, imagine Yasser Qadi was saying something like you shouldn't be alone in the room. Or you shouldn't be alone online, or something like that, with the opposite sex, and things like this would have been avoided, even though the mother was involved and it was a child, right? Yeah. Are you going to say that to the victim in their face?
Yeah. So let's say you're the head of Al Maghrib. What would be your language? What would have been? How would you have condemned it? How would you have explained it?
I mean, first and foremost, I would be like, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea. Right? I have no idea. All I can, like I said, right now, I'm in a pretty emotional state, right? Yeah. And especially over the past few years of being torn down by so many of these big guys that, they only give me the time of day when they want to tell me, when they want to tell me to get out of their way. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sorry. I give them.
Yeah. Look, it's something
I'm
I've been
willing and able. I'm ready to stand against every single last one of these niggas on the Day of Judgment. Personally,
it's just something I've been thinking about, right? Because it's the fun thing, it's the cool thing on Twitter to blast the celebrity sheikhs. It's the way you get popular on platforms like X and YouTube by blasting a lot of these scholars, and there are for sure legitimate criticisms, and I'm sure they accept that as well. But at the end of the day, how would you do it better? Is the question. Like, okay, if you
don't
had
need
that,
to be a celebrity. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
You
that's
don't need to be a
celebrity is the nature of the game, right? You have, for example, a mosque that's trying to raise money, right? A event or a Muslim organization like CARE or whatever, they need celebrities. They need people who are recognizable and pull crowds to certain events.
I disagree. How about they actually show the work that they claim that they're doing?
That doesn't
so people
that
can
doesn't
actually see
attract
that their
people,
money's
man.
Going somewhere.
That
You know
doesn't
what I mean?
attract people.
So I can tell you what I would do. I mean,
Welcome to the show, Mort.
Hey, Mort.
Hey, walaikum assalam,
What's up,
brothers.
baby? Alaikum assalam.
Just came right in, bro. How you doing, brother?
You know it is. I miss you,
You're
bro.
looking fly as usual, mashallah. Anyway, so let me just say this. I think if I was Al Maghrib, the head of the Al Maghrib, I would do some deep analysis and thinking and saying we've got to change the model. This is not just about Wissam. And trust me when I say that organizations like this have had other issues that probably haven't gone public, and they probably kept it internal. And this is not the first time something that has come like this that probably shocks them.
Yeah.
And what that means is that you have a systemic problem. And how you're doing something is creating an environment that's allowing this to happen. And I would first off apologize and say, for years we've been pushing forward an environment that allowed for this to happen. This is everything coming to fruition, like culmination of all of these different policies they've had, as they tried to break away from the normal traditional way of learning and tried to make it quote unquote more accessible, more cool, more hip, more fun. They tried to make it more appealing, and in ways they compromise very simple etiquettes that we have as Muslims that we're taught from very young ages, that you don't mix, you don't do these things. You know, knowledge is to be respected. It's not a part-time thing. Like, they've created this culture where it's become like this, and it led to this. And I think you have to take accountability behind that, because in a lot of ways, Al Maghrib did pave the path for this type of.
Here's what I would do more. I think that if I was to start an educational system like Al Maghrib, I would make sure that teachers and their students don't have each other's contact information. It's a strictly prohibited policy that you do not have either person's phone numbers or email addresses. Everything that is communicating is happening into like a classroom. There's like a public board where you send your questions in. And everyone is able to see your interactions with your students. Beyond that, there's no other
like within an inter-school type of messaging network or something like that. They can do it that way.
Because they have that in universities and schools and stuff like that.
You also have a third party.
Your teachers,
like chaperone or something.
My son's teachers don't have his personal email address. But they do a lot of online stuff. But it's all visible to everyone.
Yeah,
and
right?
they should. I'm sorry. Whenever kids are involved, a parent should always be there.
Well, that's another thing too. I would say that, and as far as Al Maghrib, I would say that this is part of the problem. But I think also part of the problem is that we were able to foster this environment because parents were not being as vigilant and being parents. They were trying to, like, for example, what I mean by that is, there's no easy way to be a parent. And you can offload it by saying, okay, I'm going to dump them on the Quran teacher for 4 hours. Or I'm going to dump them into a Sunday school for 5 hours in the weekend. I get a break and someone else is doing it. But that's not how it works. Ultimately, what you're doing as parents is you're entrusting your children, your everything, to people who, I hate to say this, but you really don't know.
You don't know them.
You don't know them. And just because they're Muslim or somebody else knows them or somebody else praises them, it doesn't mean anything. And this is what I would say too. I look at it like this. I meet people in the streets and oh, so and so said you're such a good person, you're like this, you're like that, and I know internally that I am nothing like what those people are saying. Like, I have my faults. I'm a piece of shit. Right? I know that, right? But imagine that.
We all know that too, Mort.
Yeah, exactly. So my point being though is that like if you know that about yourself, right? Imagine what other people are behind scene. We all have our sins, right? I'm not saying we're sinless, but imagine when people praise you and you know that you're not worth it, but people still do it. You don't think that applies to scholars and people who are, in teaching positions or whatever, or celebrity status? Of course it is. They have their flaws. They have their fitan. They have all of that. So why would you expose and allow your child to be to be put in a compromising situation? So for me as Al-Maghrib, I would say, or any organization like that, I would say, first of all, apologize that we had a hand in creating this environment, and number two, encourage parents to not repeat this, meaning that be involved. If your child has Quran's classes, whatever, and they're online, well, guess what? For those 2 hours, you're sitting right next to them.
Yeah, parent has to be
guys. Before this, after the last episode we did, I had people contacting me from Egypt, right? People who are people who were brought up here. And they said, hey, the teachers in Egypt, they're Al-Azhar sheikhs. You guys missed the mark on that previous episode. They were not celebrity scholars. They were graduates of Al-Azhar, and they're making moves on me. I'm a woman, and they, both husband and wife, are making learned people.
I believe it.
And so,
bro, I've heard stories from the University of Medina of people going gay.
So I'm telling you, this is not specifically limited to celebrity. Can celebrity environments contribute to it?
That's
Yes.
the situation we're talking about here, bro. Like, this isn't general sim. This is very specific, right? Talking about celebrity sheikhs, right? Celebrity imams. So, because these guys have this. I'm sorry, bro, and it's sad to say, but they're given godlike fucking power, right? Within the community, they are. Tell me I'm lying.
No, you're right. I think someone came up with the meme saying that they put all these different faces, and these are people guaranteed paradise. Like, they can do whatever they want to do. And,
exactly.
Bro,
you weren't part of the Battle of Badr.
Right.
You weren't.
Exactly. And I think, I think what there's a valid criticism here, and I think what Nader is saying is that the celebrity status adds an extra level of complexity and caution. Yeah. Right, because you're exposed to even more. But to what you're saying goes back to the point that I think Sheikh Amr and we were talking about last time, is that yes, it can happen with just the average Joe, but that's the whole idea of not being in khalwa and not spending too much time that way. And to be honest, like, and here's the other thing too, we have to push the culture of being able to feel comfortable reporting this. Like, this sister who went through that, she should be able to come out and say, hey, guys, this is, I mean, if it means coming out with a list of blacklisted Quran teachers and saying, hey, this person did this to me and we can't have them, then we need to make a place that's safe for people to report these things and say, hey, you know what, we're not tolerating, we're outing all of this in our community.
Well, one of the sisters that messaged us said that maybe this needs to be integrated into major universities, this platform of how ethics are conducted between teachers and students, that universities like Al-Azhar and Medina need to have these courses. And Sheikh Amr is not here with us tonight, and maybe he could expound on that, whether there are classes like that or requirements like that. I'm sure there may be some level of education around it, but he would be able to better speak on that. But I think that's a fair point. I think Muslim institutions, Islamic institutions, we should hold ourselves to a higher standard over secular institutions, and we have to have these controls in place. At least do our utmost, do everything within our utmost capability. We can't stop everything, but we could maybe limit it. You know?
But you know what bothers me is that when we go through these scholars in these classes, right, they mention a lot of these fiqh details, right, about things that say. And we learn about them, and the reason why scholars preferred a particular opinion is because it avoided leading to a possible sin, right? Like, for example, we avoid this so this doesn't happen, right? Even though the thing which may not be haram is disliked because it may lead to that, right? We know that. Why are we not taking that level of precaution and taking those gateway items and incorporating that into a class that gets and I believe it's not just one class. I think that we should have a institution or a body that regularly has oversight over these universities and teachers and make them do continual, just like we ask public school teachers and secular teachers to do continual education.
Yeah.
We should expect the same, like how we, like, for example, in the workplace, we have to every year go through workplace harassment.
Yeah.
Go through ethics and morals, right? Every year we have to do that,
Yeah.
right? Something like this should be put in place for teachers.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think that's
why we don't
that
for teachers and for these guys is because we put them on this pedestal that we think they're so infallible, right?
Yeah.
We put them in the level of the Pope. That's what we do. You know what I mean?
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that's part of the problem, right? Like that we have made this group of people so elite and like untouchable, like they can, and even in some different circles. I don't want to just say all Maghreb alone, but I'm saying even other different.
No, I'm calling out all of these big
Yeah,
organizations.
exactly. Some of them are even worse. Like you'll find some that say even if you, like, would even think bad about the scholar, there's something wrong with you. Like this person is a Sayyid. How dare you even think they could do something like that?
oh yeah, they're an Awliya. There's that Awliya card that everyone has.
Yeah.
Wait, Sim, time out. That's an Awliya you're speaking about. I'm like, really? Who gave them that card?
I'm thinking even if they are Awliya, right? I'm just saying.
No, I mean, how do you know that?
No, but I'm thinking even if they were, right? Weren't the Sahaba Awliya as well too?
Of course,
Right?
Exactly.
And like, didn't they make mistakes? Yeah,
Let me ask you a question. How many times did you ever? How many hadith did you hear about? Abu Bakr narrated that Zayd ibn Haritha wanted to talk to the Prophet, so he had to go through 4 different people to talk to him, and then be told to come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or come back later. That's the culture we live in today.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. So let's move on. Just to give a quick
Sorry,
update.
I got kind of raw with that one. Sorry, guys.
Family people who are listening, we're sorry your children's ears got polluted.
I apologize for cursing. I'm sorry. We just had to get
Allah
really
forgive you.
real about this because this,
Yeah.
like I said, this affected me really, really, really hard. Like it really hit me hard because I knew the guy, because I didn't see it, because I went through it.
Yeah.
But how do you see that, man? I'm sorry, I don't want to get like too like hung up on it. But to Sim's point, how do you see that? You can't see that, right? You see someone who's genuine, who wants to come in.
There are, there are scholars. I'm not going to say names or anything, but as they were lifting and their hairline was getting fuller, you're like, oh, that guy's got his game on. Mm-hmm. I know that a wolf can spot another wolf. I know what you're up to. Mm-hmm. But with him, I didn't see that at all. Yeah. And so it begs the question, like, all you can do is have strict controls. You can make these public monitors, public discussion boards where, sorry, not public, but you know what I mean. Classroom discussion boards where teachers or students and parents can log in and see the interaction that happened between the teacher and the student, and a strict no policy.
And actually, to be honest, with AI, we can develop algorithms that will identify text, speech that is inappropriate, and flag it for review. Right? Why not? Right? We do.
And there should. I'm sorry, man. These guys got so much money to waste on so much garbage. They can pay a third party to come in and to chaperone. Oh, totally.
They could implement that over a weekend. You
know what I mean?
Nader, when this happened, because I know there's going to be someone in the comments saying, "Oh, Sim, you're." They came up with this term like, "Oh, Sim, you're going to simp for Al Maghrib. Sim, just change your name to Simp."
Why?
Okay, because it's a really clever word that they.
No. I'm saying.
Because they're saying that because they're going to interpret what I'm doing as defending Al Maghrib. What I'm trying to
you're playing the devil's advocate.
No, and not just that. Now, when this first came out, I called Al Maghrib to shut all classes down and review everything that they're doing. Like I called for it right from nobody put it in my ear. I'm like, you guys need to shut everything down, review all your policies, review everything that you're doing to make sure that this doesn't ever happen again. So I don't care what anyone says in the comments. Like, we're an independent organization. Nobody ever gave us any handouts except for our listeners. God bless you all. I love you. Patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks. Let's move on to the next
Gotta get
question.
that plug in.
Bro, no, it is a credit to the listeners, man. Like, this show
absolutely.
wouldn't survive without you guys. So,
Yeah.
really appreciate that. And so we have Dan Blizerian, multimillionaire. He's not a billionaire, but he's got a considerable amount of wealth, like $200-300 million. He's a really wealthy playboy, someone who is kind of lives that lifestyle of women, cars. He was the Andrew Tate before Andrew Tate. We've talked about him in the past on the show, but he was really the symbol of what men should aspire to,
like fitness,
for many
confidence,
years.
Success, women, well, all that.
Huge
stuff,
following on Instagram. Do not go on his Instagram. It's very haram. I've given you warnings. Do not become like those perverts that we were just talking about. Very haram. Do not go on that. And
Munafik.
So he went. So he took a break off of social media and everything, and he's trying to rediscover his life and trying to figure out what he wants to do, because he doesn't live that kind of lifestyle anymore, and he's trying to find some level of spirituality. There was a picture of him recently on Twitter where he was reading the Quran as well, and he's around a lot. He's being pretty open-minded, and he's become a very strong supporter of the resistance in Gaza, right?
And shout out to our brother Hassan Shibli. He's been really involved in trying to have these conversations with him. So he's been, I think, behind the doors, kind of behind the scenes. Throwing him material, having him read stuff, introducing him to people. But yeah, nonetheless, he's become very, very vocal about, and it's weird because he originally got involved by making a comment about how this is horrible and what's happening out there can't be accepted, right, by anybody who has a heart. Mm-hmm. And people came after him, and he began to realize that it wasn't just people now, it was Zionist entities that wanted to essentially finish him, bankrupt him, take his money, destroy him, and boycott him and black label him. And he's the type of person as far as a personality type that I'm going to fight this out. I don't care who you are. I don't care if I lose everything I have. You're not telling me what to say and who I can feel bad for, especially when I know that I'm right. And that has caused him to be even more brazen about his stance, and then allowed him to even dig deeper into who the Zionists are, what is it actually that they, the full story behind them. And I think before you play this stuff, I think part of me thinks that he's just the visceral reaction of knowing that you've been lied to for years, and finding out certain stuff. And and before you play, I want to be honest for a minute, right? There is stuff out there that is part of, and I want to use this word like that's very carefully, but it is, some of it is not true, and it's used to attack Jews, but some of it is true, right? And to some degree, right?
Yeah, and that's what I want you to comment on as he's talking about it, because I'm not sure I agree with every single thing that he's saying, because I don't know what and you're someone who studied a lot of the Jewish faith, and you've studied some of their things that he may be mentioning about, because I try to give everyone their fair shake. I don't care what religion or whatever you are, because we've talked about many Jewish people who are advocating for Palestine and Gaza on the show, such as that comic Dave Smith and so many others. So let's go ahead and play the clip and let people understand the nature of it. There may be some language issues here, guys, so if you got kids, please cover their ears.
I don't like a religion that says that they're better than other people. And what's that?
Well, you do. You obviously do. It's blatant. No one watching this will draw any other conclusion. I'm staggered about how brazen you've been.
Yeah, I don't like it when people think they're better than other people. And you see that in Israel, and they're acting like that, and they're treating Palestinians like second-class citizens. They're treating them like subhuman beasts, and it sells that in their Talmud.
So pause there.
It says if you are not a Jew, that you are basically subhuman.
I want to remind people that Talmud is the rabbinical discussion about the oral law, right? About interpretation. So it's their sages and rabbis that have...
is that their hadith, basically?
No, it's more than that. It's more of like tafasir.
More like tafsir.
It's
right?
more, yeah, it's tafasir.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
so understand that the Jews have written law and they have oral law.
Okay.
Which is not written, but it's passed on the same way. It's because for them, just like us, it's all wahi, right? Revelation. Yeah. So they have parts that's written down, the Tanakh, the 5 books, and then they have the oral tradition, right? Which is passed on from rabbi to rabbi, and they wrote about it. And that's why when the Quran mentions, woe to those who write this with their hands and say this is from Allah. Right,
and the chain of narration is
they change. They take some parts out, be nuksan or ziyada by removing something or adding something.
So how big is this book, the Talmud? It seems like
the Talmud is actually 2 types. There's a Babylonian Talmud and there's actually a Palestinian Talmud.
Oh wow,
a Palestinian Talmud, yeah. But and it depends on the era which they came out to. The previous time deals with like things about what to do in agricultural laws, like living, and other parts have to do with their interaction, mu'amalat, like how to deal with certain laws of living as with Gentiles and things like this. So to comment on what he's saying, these conversations do exist in the Talmud and also in rabbinical circles, and what it stems from is that Jews have this thing called a neshama. Or Shekhinah, which is like basically it's a spark of God inside of all Jews, and it makes them inherently better and chosen than anybody else. And they actually some of the rabbis actually believe that Adam had procreated with beast on earth, and these other the progeny of this relationship is what other human beings are.
Oh wow!
And they lack the neshama. They don't have that same spark that the chosen would have.
So they came from Eve. Is that what you're saying? Is that what they're saying?
Right. They came from that lineage, but the other ones, the rest of like the other human beings, goyim. Well, and this is interesting too because they'll say goy just means nation, or right, well, goyim means nations, but it's used in a negative connotation and in a negative way.
Oh, okay.
It means that it's pretty much like
it's not like it's not like
for us it's like calling someone najas.
Oh,
najasa, like they are
it's not even like kafir, right?
Yeah,
kafir is just the desert. You don't believe, you're a kafir,
right?
Okay,
so kafir is just a classification of someone who disbelieves,
exactly.
Right?
Like they're straight up, it's an insult.
This is more of something like someone like when
you're literally saying it to insult someone.
See that's the thing. They don't use it that way, but it's okay. So fundamentally, it's meant to describe people that are lower than you.
Yeah.
Right, like meaning in that sense, right? But anyways, so does this conversation exist? Yes. Do all rabbis have this belief? No. But and here's the interesting thing: the further back you go in rabbinical writings, the more intense the feelings are about, how the hatred or divide. And that could stem from the fact that they were persecuted, or there was directly during the time of the Romans and the Christians coming out. It could have to do with that as well, politically motivated. But you can see it takes a much harsher tone earlier on. More Reformed rabbis tend to say, well, we have to reinterpret this, understand time and place. But keep in mind that Orthodox, arguing with the Talmud would be like arguing with Mujahid or Qatada or like Ibn Abbas, right? It's hard for them to do that. Like if I came and said, I don't really take Ibn Abbas's opinion in the Quran, I think we should understand it from a different light. Now one could potentially do that and not be a kafir.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty big precedence to say I'm ignoring Ibn Abbas,
right,
or Mujahid or Qatada, right?
Yeah.
Like these are things that and so that's the equivalent of them denying that.
All right, let's go back to this video.
And I don't think that Judaism and Christianity go hand in hand. I mean, they believe that Jesus is in hell burning in human shit, and they believe the Virgin Mary is a whore.
That's true.
So I don't think those are two
So pause there. They don't say so. They reference him by a euphemism, but they will tell you this is a different Jesus, not a different Yeshua, not the one that because it was written beforehand. But there's pretty good evidence to suggest that they are talking about Sayyidina Isa, and they believe he is that he was a product of zina.
Oh wow!
And that Maryam alayhi salam was not chaste and that she was
that she's
an unchaste
like
woman.
a Roman legion or something.
Yeah,
right?
and they believe that she one of the Roman diplomat or aristocrats like raped her or had relations with her, and that's the product of that marriage, right? They actually, I don't know if it's
Neither your video went out, by the way.
Oh yeah. But again, if you ask them this directly, they would say, well, this is not the same issue what you're talking about. But reading the text and putting two and two together, it becomes very clear that they are talking about Sayyidina Isa and his mother.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to this.
Religions that really intersect very well. But, you know, we've been programmed that they do, and we've been programmed that it's okay and that Jews are the chosen people, and I just disagree with that. I think everybody's equal.
Do you even comprehend how this interview is going to play out when it airs?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be bad. But, you know, my opinion is not politically correct, but I believe that is the truth. You know, there's 2 billion Muslims, but everybody wants to, you know, promote this anti-Muslim, this hatred for Muslim, like they're all, you know, these terrorists. And I think the Israelis are the terrorists. I think they are the ones perpetuating the big acts of terrorism. And, you know, nobody wants to talk about that.
And what do you say to Jewish people who may watch this and be utterly horrified by what they're hearing?
They can be horrified. I mean, I was horrified to find that they mass murdered Christians.
Pause.
I was horrified.
So there are early church fathers who wrote about how. Now I don't know. This is called the blood libel. If you ever hear about blood libel, right?
Yeah. What's that mean?
So what they would say in Europe when the pogroms happened, Christian communities. Part of the reason why they say they lashed out at Jews was because there were rituals that were done by like Kabbalistic Jews that involved
like
child sacrifice, occultist type things,
Cult.
where they would sacrifice babies and take Christian babies and sacrifice them, and allegedly these Christian groups at that time had evidence that they were doing this, and they also brought things. And see, this gets a little complicated because it's not something specifically Talmudic necessarily, but it could be in the Zohar and other spiritual books they have. But it's related to...
What's a Zohar?
Zohar is like their Sufi book.
Oh, wow.
They have... It's like Kabbalistic stuff.
I was gonna say I thought it was Kabbalah.
Yeah, but that Kabbalah is like their version of Sufism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I want to be very careful. I don't want to say that. I'm not making it one for one, but I'm saying it's their spiritual
path.
Yeah, that kind of spirituality and metaphysical type route for them, right? And there's different branches of that as well. But anyways, point being is that a lot of that Zohar stuff though is rooted in Talmudic conversations, right? Like you can, for example, the life of a goy is not the same as the life of a Gentile.
Yeah.
Right? Things like that, like that they're not really it's okay to lie to them. It's okay to never charge a Jew interest, but charge a goyim interest. Like things like that, right? These are things that are, and so it's possible that Zohar was influenced by things like this, but I think some of the stuff that he's talking about, it does come out, and I also want to say this too, and I don't know if this is a fact or not, but some of what he may be talking about also may come from a work called Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Right?
Yeah.
And that book is controversial because some people say it's absolutely written by Jews.
Yeah.
And some people will say, no, it was actually a parody written by Russians about Jews at that time to help facilitate like the anti-Semitism, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it's just propaganda. But I mean, I don't want to get into the whole detail of all that, but some of that stuff that he's talking about may have come from his readings of that particular work, right? And so, but some of that stuff does correlate with what's in the Talmud and in the Zohar.
Wow, interesting. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Horrified to learn the things that they teach in the Talmud. I was horrified that they think that Jesus is burning in shit in hell. I was horrified that they think that the Virgin Mary is a whore. I was horrified to learn that they think it's okay to steal from Gentiles. True. I was horrified to hear that there's, two sets of justice. I was horrified to find out that they think it's okay to, gang rape Palestinian prisoners. I was horrified about all those things. I'm horrified that we're funding a genocide right now. So they can be horrified.
So just a quick pause here. I think this was a missed opportunity for Dan.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why is because he could have addressed it and said, this is not all the Jews,
Yeah.
right? It's for Jews that believe in this mentality,
Yeah.
right? Rather than saying, I don't really care what you think, right? Because there are Jews that are also horrified with what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Like, that's why they reformed their religion. That's why they take a different approach, right?
Right.
Because they're not okay with that stuff.
Yeah.
They're not okay with that superior mentality and that the idea that they're all these different things he's talking about, that very orthodox, ultra orthodox conversations they have. And so I think he missed an opportunity there. He could have handled that a little bit better.
The thing is, even if he did say that, do you think that's gonna come out any better for him?
No,
You know what I'm
but
saying?
I think what happens that no one
Piers
could.
Morgan, you know what I'm saying?
I get
Piers
it, but
Morgan-
what I'm saying is that no one could then say that he's attacking all Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right, you have to be able to play the card.
They would all still say it, even if he said they weren't all like that.
No,
They
it's
would
true,
still-
but it's about what you can prove, right?
Look, there's so many
They
prominent.
don't care.
Yeah.
We can prove everything more that they've done, that the Israelis have done and Zionists have done, right? We're not talking about Jews in general. We're talking about Zionists and Israelis. We have so much evidence of all the shit they've done, and yet they still gaslight the world. You know what I mean? And guess what? The world eats it up like it's crackers.
But I think that's
You know
right
what
now,
I'm saying?
Nader. But I think when we're talking about like, al-hal la tadun, right? It's not always going to be like this. When we look back at history, look, let's be honest here, right? There are some people out there who are using this cause right now to just straight up be white supremacists, right?
Yeah.
And
of
you
course.
don't want to be able to look at back in history and say, was Dan doing it for that, or was he doing it because he was genuine, right?
Yeah.
You want to be able to do, because this is not just for right now. All of these videos and clips that you see right now, I guarantee you, 50 years from now, people are going to go look back at these things and watch them again. Just like we watch clips from Malcolm X and from all these things, right? We're going to find these clips, and people will watch this stuff and say, I wonder what his really thought was. Was he a white nationalist, or was he actually just upset about what was going on, the genocide, right? So this is for that reason, not to convince the Jews or anybody else, but it's more for your own indemnification.
And I think if he and other white supremacists or anyone, I don't want to lump him with the white supremacists, but I don't think he is that type of person at all. But at least what's happened is a lot of people have become so consumed in hating Israel that they've conflated Judaism as a whole on it. And we've shown many people who, like, history speaks for itself. Noam Chomsky, Jewish guy. He's a huge critic of Israel. Always has been, way before it was in style. Gabor Mate.
Finkelstein.
Gabor Mate, Finkelstein.
There's a guy named Rabbi Shapiro in New York who's an anti-Zionist. Like, he comes out, the Satmar group, like, they're very much anti-Zionist, right?
Elon, what's his name? Elon Pape.
Elon Pape.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's also a Rabbi Shapiro too, another rabbi out there who's out there.
Yeah, he's part of he's
Satmar group. Yeah, not Nutrius Karta. He's Satmar, but there's also NK Nutrius Karta guys that also come out. But again, and there's also regular. I think there's actually just regular Jewish people who don't belong to any of these
regular
Orthodox
Jewish
groups.
people that don't want to be associated.
Yes.
Look at all the students.
Yeah.
How many of them were Jewish?
Yeah.
You know
So
what I mean?
there's a lot of regular
Students for Justice in Palestine. I think that's the group.
Yeah,
So
and
I think it's important.
You have Jewish Voice for Peace.
There's IDF soldiers who have
name,
ex-IDF soldiers who have refused to sign up, and they have
Breaking the
documented.
Silence.
Yeah.
Breaking the Silence. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so
Israel is like the personification of ISIS if it had a big backer like the United States. If ISIS had Russia or something like that, I think they would have been very similar.
Well, interesting enough, surprise, I don't know if you guys have seen, but like people, you know how they kind of claim and say, well, Hamas is like ISIS. Well, a lot of these articles are coming out now that actually Israel was treating ISIS fighters during the Syrian war.
Yeah.
They were actually driving ambulance buses over the border.
It's documented,
Yes,
actually.
and they
I've seen
admitted
those.
it. Yeah, they admitted it, and that not only did they admit to
They said it was humanitarian. They're doing humanitarian
that
work.
was the original answer, but they actually, more documentation was leaked where they found out that they were not only treating them, they were funding them, giving them money and munitions, right? So you begin to think, well, if Hamas is ISIS, then you shouldn't have any problem with them at all because you were funding ISIS.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, look, it's like the deadline that the State Department gave them ran out, right? And then all of a sudden, right? All of a sudden, a day or two before that, they found Iranian guys trying to assassinate Trump in America.
And by the
All
way,
of a sudden.
did you see how funny that was? Like, it was two like Hispanic guys, and then all of a sudden this one Iranian guy, who, by the
Yeah.
way, they suspect is living in Iran. How the hell
get
did this
outta
guy? How did he make contact with these two Hispanic guys for
Exactly.
hire in America? Like, it just doesn't add up, dude.
Yeah.
It doesn't add up.
It
Yeah,
doesn't.
and by the way, I saw something today which is really interesting.
Your video went out again, Nader.
Mohammed
Yeah,
bin.
my camera. I'm gonna switch cameras.
Okay.
Alright?
In the
Still
meantime, I'm just gonna run this by Sam. I didn't have a
Yeah.
chance to send this to you, but apparently Mohammed bin Salman, for the first time, addressing the conference he had of Arab leaders around him, was saying that Netanyahu is doing a genocide, and he's actually defended Iran to some degree, saying that the world must not allow Israel to violate Iran's sovereignty.
Yeah, let's play the clip on this.
Yeah. Oh, you have it up.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So here we go. All right. Saudi Crown Prince, Israel's actions against Palestinians violate peace and human rights.
المملكة دانتها ورفضها القاطع للإبادة الجماعية التي ترتكبها إسرائيل بحق الشعب الفلسطيني الشقيق، وراح ضحاياها أكثر من 150 ألف من الشهداء والمصابين والمفقودين، معظمهم من النساء والأطفال. ونؤكد أن استمرار إسرائيل في جرائمها بحق الأبرياء والإمعان في انتهاك قدسية المسجد الأقصى المبارك والانتقاص من الدور المحوري للسلطة الوطنية الفلسطينية على كل الأراضي الفلسطينية من شأنها تقويض جهود الهادفة لحصول الشعب الفلسطيني على حقوقه المشروعة وإحلال السلام في المنطقة. المملكة دانتها ورفضها القاطع للإبادة الجماعية التي ترتكبها إسرائيل بحق الشعب الفلسطيني الشقيق،
Is it replaying?
وراح ضحاياها أكثر من 150.
Okay.
So basically, he's just saying that for people who are listening and not seeing, he's basically just saying that the Saudi Arabia, the kingdom, recognizes that there is a genocide happening and 150,000 people have been killed or displaced and harmed, and it recognizes that it categorically
I don't think it called. He said genocide though. He didn't say it was a genocide, but he did say it's.
no, he did say it was a genocide.
You know, Mike, better now. You got me on camera?
Israeli aggression. Let's just watch that again.
بالوقف الفوري للاعتداءات الإسرائيلية على الأشقاء في فلسطين ولبنان والزام إسرائيل
No, go
باحترام
back to the beginning.
سيادة الجمهورية الإسلامية الإيرانية الشقيقة واصل وندعو المجتمع
We call the
الدولي
international community to uphold the responsibility to maintain international peace and security by immediately ending the Israeli aggression against our brothers in Palestine, Lebanon.
سيادة الجمهورية الإسلامية الإيرانية الشقيقة وعدم الاعتداء على أراضيها.
Urge Israel to respect Iran's sovereignty.
There was another clip, and I don't know if it's here, but anyways, I will find it. But anyways, in the meantime, he was talking. I mean, regardless of, I mean, we'll get to the clip, but it's just, first of all, I don't want to put too much
Yeah, you
emphasis
got me?
on this.
Yeah.
I got you.
I'm on the monitor camera. I don't know how it looks. Does it look
No, you're
alright?
fine.
Yeah, you look good.
You're good. So, first of all, I think we should preface this by saying that we hope that these are not just words, but we're used to them just being words, right? Meaning that it could be, we expect this from leaders just to have words, right? Is there any meaningful impact behind this? Because the audience that he's addressing is fellow Arabs. And it could be also pandering to, fellow Arab countries and people, right? There's a different stage. We also know politicians have different languages depending on what stage they're in front of, right? And who their audience is. But it's interesting that I think the more interesting part of all of this, though, is that in that meeting, he is actually defending Iran's sovereignty, which is something a few years ago that he was, obviously not willing to do, right? And I think I think it's interesting. I mean, is that something genuine? I don't know. Is that something is that American pressure that's coming on Saudi Arabia because they're trying to exert pressure on Israel, right? Is that a form of turning up the knob and saying, hey, look, we're going to allow Iran and Saudi Arabia to have better relationships, right? I don't know, right? But it's just interesting nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, Turkey also released a statement saying that they will officially end all relations with Israel. There is a
There was actually something that actually even happened. A plane was diverted because of a Hezbollah rocket that landed that actually struck Tel Aviv airport, and the plane had to be diverted, and they needed to refuel, and they were supposed to go back to they were trying to land in Turkey to refuel, but Turkey refused them the ability to land, and so they had to go back to like Germany or something in order to land there because Turkey had refused to allow the Israeli airline to land in Turkey. So I don't know if that's because of what Turkey just recently did.
Yeah,
but it's interesting to note.
One of the
cut off, I guess.
Sorry, repeat that.
Did they cut them off completely? Like no imports, no exports.
I don't know. I mean, the biggest way we know that is in the form of oil, because about 60% of oil, like petrol that comes to Israel, is through that Turkish pipeline from Baku, like from Azerbaijan. So I don't know if they're willing to part with that. Yeah, 60%.
Is that 60% of the oil that goes to Israel? You're saying
they have in their reserves? Yes, is from the pipeline that comes through Turkey from Azerbaijan.
Okay, let's see. You know, words are great.
Yep.
But let's see some actions, right? Like let's be honest here, man. Words really have gotten nowhere for a long.
And that's why I mentioned that. I'm like, you know, words. I wish, and it's so weird to me, Nether, because right now, man, like, if Saudi were to back up what they were saying, man, this whole world will be behind them. I mean, it would be unstoppable, right? I mean, think about this. Like, what Muslim country right now, even the ones that hated Wahhabis or all the stuff they did in the past, whatever, who would deny supporting Saudi if they decided to just cut with
without a doubt. I think for sure.
Like, and they could actually cause other nations to feel comfortable doing the same thing.
Look, that's why I always said, and people pushed back against it, but I always said Saudi Arabia has a considerable influence in the Muslim world. They are the maintainers of Makkah and Medina, and they have a huge level of influence over what the thinking is among Muslims all across the world. And when they say something, when they want something done, things will not necessarily happen exactly the way they want it, but it carries a lot of weight, right? There is also some new Trump appointees that have been added to the cabinet, and much to the dismay of many Trump supporters, people who are MAGA supporters, you're seeing Trump's cabinet being filled out by
Huckabee, baby,
Zionists. Here's Pete Hegseth, who is taking up the defense secretary position.
Defense secretary, yes.
And here we go.
And talk about dual loyalty is dead wrong.
So he's talking about the dual.
What this organization, anyone that wants to take the stage and talk about dual loyalty is dead wrong. What this organization represents, what Western civilization represents today, is an understanding that Zionism and Americanism are the front lines of Western civilization and freedom in our world today.
What is Americanism?
And what better time for that relationship? From the scrapping of the terrible Iran deal to the embassy move, the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of the Jewish state, and the recognition of the Golan Heights. This president is a true friend of the state of Israel. It is an eternal bond, an unbreakable bond that represents faith and freedom and fidelity to historic, religious, and cultural traditions, the opposite of secularism and Islamism and anti-Semitism. I don't want to be Jeb Bush, but it's okay to clap. Just kidding.
Wait, hold on. Wait, so he's saying that they're standing against secularism?
And Islamism.
Like, how are those?
Well, Yeah, he said secularism along with Islamism
and anti-Semitism. So he's basically saying that this alliance is what, some kind of Judeo-Christian religious alliance that is undermining secularism. Like what?
This whole thing, this whole. By the way, this whole idea of Judeo-Christian thing really pisses me off, because this thing wasn't. When did that word even start? Like,
it's new.
1950s.
In the last 40 years. No, I'm saying neocons created that.
Yeah.
That's not. It's not something traditionally used. If look, 100 years ago, you said Judeo-Christian, a Christian would probably slap you.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
I came here a lot of
Sorry, here's another clip
Continue.
of Peter
people
Hegseth.
asked me, a couple people this morning in a press conference, what can Israel learn from America? Was asked a couple of times.
Oh.
And each time I stopped and I said, you need to reverse that question. The question is, what can America learn from Israel? But predominantly in American culture today, American culture is largely asleep. Largely asleep to the realities of the world that we face. Largely asleep to the depth of the threats on the horizon. And the state of Israel, for reasons that you all understand far better than I, is not asleep. And is forced each and every day to wake up under the umbrella of existential threats. So when I speak in America, I always end by talking about a quote that is, or a sentiment that is oftentimes used in America, which is that veterans will be tempted to say, I fought, I put on a uniform, I went to Iraq or Afghanistan or World War I or World War II or Korea or Vietnam so that my kids won't have to. I fought so that they can live in peace. And it is a tempting thought. In fact, in World War II, after American GIs deployed around the globe to defeat Nazis and the Imperial Japanese, liberate camps too late in many places, but be a part of that, that generation went back to America and said, we did fight the Nazis so the next generation can live more free. But I counsel nobody to say that anymore, and I never say it myself. I didn't fight so that my kids won't have to fight. I fought knowing that my kids will have to fight as well. And
so what kind
maybe
of
that's by force of arms.
So you know what's a tempting thought? A tempting thought is that we were led to believe that Donald Trump will put America first, right? That was a tempting thought. That many people who believed in this democracy, that their voice, Trump's own base, said put Israel and Ukraine down a few notches and put America first. And what does he do? He takes $100 million from a billionaire named Miriam Adelson. She's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. Someone who basically wants Israel to take over the entire West Bank.
Annex the entire West Bank. That's her $100 million bargain with Trump. So also,
whoever
first of all,
that, by the way, whoever thinks that Trump is going to put America first is stupid. I'm sorry.
Well, hold on. This is the funny part. Many Arab, said, well, Trump is going to stop the wars.
They're dumb Arab.
And then they said that, well, and some of them justified it saying, well, Trump is not really that much different, but, I'm an American too, so American life is going to be better for me here, right?
No. Listen, Kamala had to pay, period, right?
Yeah.
The Democrats had to pay. We knew what was happening, right? We knew exactly what we were doing. Yeah, we're dealing with Trump. Yeah, so what? Listen.
No, but I'm saying, inshallah, in next 4 years we make the Republicans pay. Look, just make them all pay. Make them all pay. But I'm saying, but the people that believe that these people are genuinely going to make a change for you, you are dumb and stupid.
Dumb. Yes.
Your entire every facet of the United States government, not every single individual, but most of the power players in the United States government have been bought from the beginning, from their first step onto the podium where they were making their announcement that they're going to run for office. They took money from pro-Israeli lobbyists, whether it's AIPAC
AIPAC.
or J
Well,
Street, J Street, and
there was
others.
one guy, I forgot his name. Can you guys maybe remind me of him? He did an interview with Tucker Carlson, and he was talking about he was talking about how
Thomas Massey.
Thomas Massey.
He was talking about how everybody was appointed this handler.
Yeah, an AIPAC man.
An AIPAC, handler.
Yeah.
That would
My AIPAC guy. That's what you're saying.
I'll go talk to my AIPAC guy.
Yeah. And they would essentially like say these are things you should talk about. This is how you get money. And like, and basically this is everybody. They literally appoint these to all politicians, whether they be Republican or Democrat, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Because for
They
them,
have the AIPAC
it's like
guy.
they have the Michael Jordan mentality, right? Like Republicans and Democrats both buy Jordans, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with them. Like both of them buy it for, can be bought, right? For Israel,
Yeah.
essentially, right? So this is what Sim is mentioning, is that doesn't matter how you vote because you don't have the money and the influence that they do. They've already, from the minute they got even the ability to get on a national stage, they have already been approached and claimed by an AIPAC rep.
Yep.
Already.
Yep.
And so that begs to the next question: like, how do you consider yourself a democracy still? How do you consider yourself a democracy when the richest among your society are buying your votes, and some of them happen to be people like Miriam Adelson?
Well, I think to be honest, sorry to interrupt you, but I think a bigger display of that was, dude, Elon Musk did it in public. He created a super PAC and gave $1 million every week to somebody who signed up for the super PAC.
Every day.
Yeah, I'm sorry, every day. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Every day.
Every day he gave away $1 million. Is that not buying? Is that not showing that money makes a difference?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, let's be honest here.
We've been in an
If
oligarchy.
Elon came and said, "I'll give you $2 million to join my super PAC," I'll make some kind of excuse and say, "Hey, you know what? I'll donate $1 million to Gaza, whatever." Right? You money makes you play. Right?
And it's so fascinating. It's terrifying because I talk to friends and colleagues and people who are very pro Constitution. They love the United States and I talked about I'm willing to concede. The United States Constitution is a brilliant document, but when I start talking about the blind spots that the founding fathers had about capitalism affecting democracy, the way that they just they couldn't ever foresee the way that these politicians are completely being bought into power, they recoil and they see, then they're like, no, they didn't make a mistake. It's it's completely manageable. They get so they're it's like they're intentionally wanting to avoid this huge elephant in the room, this blatant truth that's hitting them on their face that, hey, these guys, they don't care about you. All they do is want to make sure that they keep making money. The rich keep getting even more richer, and the rest of us, we're just keep on arguing about gender equality and identity politics and all kinds of different issues, right? They don't care about us. They'll make a few changes right now. Donald Trump has control, and in the past as well, in his previous term, he had control over the House and the Senate. Well, was he able to pass?
For 2 years he did. Yeah.
For 2 years. He couldn't pass the border bill. And what did they do? And Obama had the same thing.
For 2 years
and for 2 years as well. And he would blame the Republicans. Oh, they're stonewalling. They won't let me do universal health care the way I want to do it. And then the Donald Trump's main thing was, like, I can't get the border wall passed because the Democrats won't let me do everything.
And Republican like Mitch McConnell.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it's just tiny variations. This is why I was trying to tell people, like, when Trump comes into power, you're not going to get any much different than what Biden's going to get into power. You're just getting a different face to the thing. And yeah, you're giving the finger to the Democrats, but it's better than nothing, right? So I didn't really tell people to go out and vote for Trump. I said, hey, maybe you just vote for Jill Stein and say, hey, at least that way you have your conscience clear. Like, you didn't support a warmonger or someone who kills your fellow brothers and sisters. And you can let the establishment know that Palestine is a issue that you care about, and these are votes that they could have had And I think that would have been a better use of your vote. But in the end, my point was that as long as you don't vote for Kamala,
I think your thing was that if we're collectively doing something, that's better than nothing.
it's better than nothing. Although the whole thing is garbage to me.
Because the first step
Yeah.
is unity, right?
Yeah.
We can't unify in anything, but if we can unify in this,
Yeah.
then at least we made some progress. By the way, do you have our next ambassador to Israel,
Right. That was Huckabee.
Mike Huckabee?
Mike Huckabee, yeah.
Dude, this guy is like a rabid Zionist. Like he's like, we can't use this two-state solution anymore. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. You have to end this
Marco
nonsense.
Rubio is the Secretary of State.
And then who's that ambassador to the UN?
Here we
Who's
go.
also
the chick from Lee Stefanik, the chick from
Stefanik
New
or
York.
something? Yeah.
Be acting on
Here we
the
go.
property it already owns. I think Israel has title deed to Judea and Samaria. There are certain words I refuse to use. There is no such thing as a West Bank. It's Judea and Samaria.
Oh, wow.
There's no such thing as a settlement. They're communities, they're neighborhoods, they're cities. There's no such thing as an occupation. That they get out of their minds that people are living in lean-tos and tents, sleeping in cars, circled around a tree. They're living in very well-designed and beautiful cities and communities. Can't wait to get back. I'm going to take an extra hat. I'm going to get it to President-elect Trump. Build Israel great again. Who knows? We may see him wear this out there in one of his rallies somewhere. I don't know. Can't promise that. I can only promise he will get a copy of the hat. Thank you very much.
Wow. So there you have it.
Gotta hate these people.
So these guys,
This is the thing, right? Everyone that's in the current administration believes all of this, right? They believe it all. The difference is the Republicans will tell it to you exactly how it is. The Democrats will, they'll flower it up and make it seem like they're concerned when they're not concerned. They don't give a shit. They never did give a shit.
Bring them
right?
here, and they've never.
One thing that's really confusing me though is that, so forget about the Muslims for a moment. The conservatives in America and the MAGA guys that voted for Trump, they were big on, in the previous time, draining the swamp.
yeah.
Right? QAnon, all that stuff, draining the swamp.
Yep.
Right? And then, who was the swamp at that time? It wasn't only Democrats, it was neocons. Right? The old guard.
Yeah.
And then Trump, when he lost the election, he said, well, you know what? I had bad people around me like Pompeo and
Yeah.
Bannon and all these neocons, right? But majority of his appointees right now are the same bastard neocons.
Yep.
Marco Rubio, Bannon, Stefanik, all these people, these same people you're appointing right now.
Not Bannon.
No.
From back then with Bannon.
I'm saying no. I'm
Marco
saying
Rubio,
no.
Huckabee,
Marco Rubio,
Stefanik,
Stefanik, and then Huckabee.
Yeah.
I said these, and then that one. Who's the other guy? That white guy that was the Secretary of Defense. Secretary of what's
Oh yeah,
Pete, whatever the
yeah.
hell his name
Exit or yeah.
Exit.
Yeah. Anyways, these are neocons. They're not like anything different. These were people going back to the Bush era, right? Who are neocons,
Yeah.
right? And like, so what happened to draining the swamp? Like, what is different about this? Well, and you know what? To be honest, a lot of these MAGA guys are like, oh yeah, screw Israel. Trump's gonna cut them off and blah 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 blah. Right? We're gonna pick America first and end the Ukraine. Dude, these same neocons, dude, they would love they still have beef with Russia.
Yeah.
They still think we live in the communist era where like there's the Cold War era. I'm sorry, right? Where like they have to defeat Russia. You know what I mean? Like they still think that we're in the Cold War era, right? And they're not going to forget about that. So where is this ending of the neocons?
It's insane, and it's just sad. It's sad because there's so many people who don't like the establishment, and they still like have this deep feeling that they have voice change, and you ask intelligent people. Like, okay, what's the solution? People who know that, hey, the system's broken. What's the solution? And there are no answers. Nobody has, unless there's like a violent revolution, But
It's out of control.
That it's there. You literally have lost control over the people who rule over you, and
Yeah.
that
It's,
is It's terrifying.
It's a joke. It's a joke. There's no democracy. It's a uniparty. Because think about it this way, right? Republicans come in, they pass all this crazy legislation, right? A whole bunch of crazy ass legislation. Then what happens? The Democrats come in, they're like, oh, this legislation was so bad. Do they ever reverse any of that legislation?
No.
No, they never do. They never, ever, 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 ever reverse any of the legislation that they complain about. So it's one party, man. It's one party. They all operate under one rule, and it's very clear. It is sad, but I'm sorry if you fall for it. You're a gullible idiot. I'm sorry, you're a useful idiot. That's what you are.
And that's how they see it. And this guy like Pete.
Hexit. I don't know what his name is.
Haktua. We'll just call him that.
Call him Hector.
That's it. That's his name.
Yeah, it's call him Hector.
That's it. Pete Hector.
Yeah, these guys are all like just world class scumbags, and it's just our job now to kind of educate the American people. Maybe you're just utilizing this new found platform with these Green Party branches that have kind of been abandoned by the liberals. I feel like Muslims can take those up, and you may not see the fruits of it today or a few years from now, but maybe, a decade from now, there may be something strong there, and there is plenty of opportunity, because there's a lot of Muslims who want to get into politics. They want to make change. They want to do things to make the country genuinely great, because there's a lot of beautiful people in this country who are just being lied to repeatedly. And
I have
to wake up.
The vast majority of Americans don't approve of any of the stuff that Israel's doing.
Yeah, a lot of people in the world are coming to understand that we don't have control over anything anymore.
So
yeah,
I have an interesting thought, and this is just purely from an American perspective, but I think the two-party system is done. I mean, meaning that it's not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
And we probably have to consider what Europe did in terms of the parliamentary model, right? Because what I'm saying is that the reason why they chose that model is because they realized that there were so many different opinions that one or two or three parties couldn't handle them.
Yeah.
There's like
the parliamentary model would have worked a lot better over here, and I think this system would have worked much better in the UK.
Right, because you have less. I mean, exactly, but because there's so. I think in the beginning the two-party system worked fine here because it was people had shared language, history, culture, all of religion all together, right? They in the previous time, but now America's become so diverse. You have so many different subsets of people that have a variety of issues that are important. And for example, let's say someone is anti-guns but pro-abortion.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know, I'm just saying pro-Ukraine or I'm saying pro-Ukraine and anti-Israel, right? What party do they fall into? They have to compromise on either two of those issues to fall into one party.
Yeah.
Right? And so you really, truly, you're casting a ballot knowing full well that person doesn't agree with half of what you say. Right?
Yeah.
Where you have a parliamentary system that allows someone to run specifically on the issues that are important to you, whether that be Palestine or reproductive health or education or prison reform, and then they create coalitions that get the majority.
Yeah.
And so they're forced to make, what that does is it forces people who are lawmakers to make compromises so they can get power to make changes that benefit collective groups of people.
Yeah.
Not just, and I don't know if that would require a massive overhaul of the Constitution and all of that stuff. But I'm saying that model would probably be the saving grace for America at the moment.
I think the one thing they can do with the current model they have now is just get money out of politics. If they get money out of politics, then they actually have to run off of what the people want them, what they want.
Well, that's another thing too. That's another opinion too. Experts will say, the experts will say that it's not the system that's broken, it's what we've added to it. So allowing big pharma, big corporations to be involved, allowing lobbyists and super PACs to be involved. The length of campaigning time that we do, for example, presidential campaigns, even if you win the election, start the day after you've won.
Yeah.
For 4 years, they're continually bombarding and forcing stuff on the people to watch, right? Whereas some other countries, like, they only allow us 6 months before voting time to actually start campaigning for ads, right? So maybe if there's a way they can reform that and say, listen, no more big money, no more constant bombardments for 4 years about advertisements for election campaigns and rallies and all that stuff, and no more political corporate interest in or foreign interest in politics. Sure, maybe you might have a better representation of people, but I personally don't see Democrats or Republicans agreeing to let that go because they stay in power.
They
that
don't
way.
want to get rid of their. They don't want to get rid of their power. They don't want to lose their comfort zone. Right? They get paid. They're chilling. You know what I mean? You think Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries or Mitch McConnell or whatever the hell whatever the hell.
We got to move on.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you guys know about what's going on in Amsterdam?
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of riots that are happening as a result of a soccer match that happened between a Israeli club and a Dutch club. What was their name?
Maccabi Israel.
Cologne, I think. I can't remember. FC Cologne. I can't remember the actual club's name. But during this trip, at least the way the Israelis are trying to portray it is that their fans were the victims of a pogrom. A pogrom is what the word they use. A pogrom.
New European pogroms.
Pogroms are, for those who don't know, pogroms were these campaigns that were led in medieval Europe against Jews, where Jews were expelled out of their homes,
villages, and towns.
And
it happened in front of the home where Anne Frank was.
Unbelievable.
And so the real narrative, though, is that
the real story
is in other news.
Here we go. Mossad agents join the. This is the Jerusalem Post, by the way. Mossad agents join Maccabi's that club, Tel Aviv FC trip to Amsterdam. So agitators have joined the trip.
Well, let's be first. Let's set the stage. Okay. This is the fans travel for soccer, and that wasn't the issue that caused the problem. The fans that were there came in 300-400 groups of people, and they were terrorizing the city before the match. Like, they were running around, climbing into people's windowsills and pulling down Palestinian flags, destroying flags, harassing cab drivers who look Muslim and Arab. Desecrating the street.
Victoria Park reports Maccabi fans were looking for a fight. Witness tells the BBC. I've spoken to a fan who went to the match last night who reports seeing Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters on Amsterdam Metro, that's the train line, going up and down the carriages 3 or 4 times looking for a fight. Connor Dalton tells me, I felt worried. Everyone was going into the city, so everyone knew what was going to happen. He adds that he is shocked by the portrayal of the incident in the media, adding that the attacks were completely provoked and Palestinian flags were torn down the night before.
Well, I think if that's not just alone too, they were chanting things in aggressive manners, like they were just trying to provoke people and say, we're going to kill the Arabs, we're going to rape you, we're going to F you, all this kind of stuff. And they were screaming and harassing people walking by. And also, let's say, actually,
they're chanting that they're going to defeat the Arabs.
Well, let me. I want to forward you a better one.
So,
I want to forward you a better one, where it actually has the okay. Yeah, let me
really
just
quick. They had a moment of silence during the game for
for the Spanish flood victims.
They started booing. They started setting off fireworks.
Okay,
it's like, come on, man.
Yeah,
get the hell out of here.
So, Sim, I'm gonna send you this right now. This actually has the longer version, and it's actually subtitled, and it shows you exactly what they're saying. But to what Nader was just mentioning, yes, they had a moment of silence for the Spanish flood victims. and everybody was silent, and they were intentionally being loud and whistling and battling and hooting in order for them to disrupt that moment of silence. So I'm gonna see if you can. Did I give you the link or?
Oh, let me see.
Oh, I put it in your WhatsApp. Anyways, but while he pulls that up,
Yeah, here we go.
okay. We're ashamed of you. At the end of the day, Gate 5, we will F you. We will F you. And then we will drink your blood in the town square. We will hang every communist who comes here. We will take your girls who love to party, and we will rape them, and we will shout, "Today is death." You are the whores of Arabs. We are ashamed of you. Yeah.
Oh my God. This
So
is horrific.
imagine
that's what they were
the
saying.
so first of all, they're threatening rape, they're threatening to drink blood, and they're threatening to kill people, right?
Well,
And
I
they-
think what you're doing is a blood libel right
They
now.
effed around, and they found out.
Yeah.
They,
Yep.
I mean, literally, هلا بشعب المغرب. These Moroccans came out and taught them. They gave them an ass whipping
Yeah.
that they've never seen before, and it's great, man. I mean, it is. You know what? Actually, do you know they made a song? The Moroccans made a song about this.
Did they?
Yeah, hold on, let me. I'm gonna send it to you on WhatsApp right now. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, I just want to say this though. So there's a video. I'm gonna send this to you while I pull the other one up. This is the Amsterdam police talking about the events, confirming what we're saying right now, and that is that they actually provoked this, and this is upon their investigation. So I sent you that link in WhatsApp.
When did they come out and say that today?
That was a couple days ago, where they when they did their investigation, they found out. But while you play that, I'm going to.
But you know, Biden came out saying, "I can't believe this is happening." Keir Starmer came out and said that. What did Netanyahu say? Like, oh, this is like crystal knocked. Like,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Here we go.
These guys,
Maccabi supporters ripped a flag from a building and they destroyed a taxi.
Op de Dam wordt de Palestijnse vlag in brand gestoken.
Palestine flag
On the
was
day
set
of
on
the
fire.
match, a large group of Maccabi fans gathered in Dam Square in central Amsterdam. Some arrests were made after trouble between the Israeli club's fans and pro-Palestine protesters, police said. Then, on their way to the match, some Maccabi fans were filmed singing racist and anti-Arab songs.
Maccabi supporters wordt op het Rokin vlag.
So,
There you go. And then in the WhatsApp, there's that Moroccan group that made that's singing a song about what they did in Holland. It was great. I think it's phenomenal. And now people are saying, "Come to Holland, Habibi."
oh, here we go.
send me that song. Send that to me.
I don't. I'm gonna play it one sec.
Yeah, he's gonna play it right now.
I want this.
This is great, man.
Oh, why is it muted?
I think you gotta.
Is it because of its TikTok or something?
Let me see. Oh, it's working on my screen.
Or maybe you can just put it.
Oh
to the
yeah, put it to my thing. Yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can do that.
Hang on one sec.
It probably got cut off.
No, hang on
See
one
it?
sec. I might have been unmuted. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
The browser has it muted.
Yeah.
المغرب عاش عاش المغرب عاش عاش منودي احلى تحيه لهولندا المغربيه علمهم معنى الحريه وعاش المغرب عاش عاش.
So hold on, pause there. He's saying free Maghreb, basically long live Morocco, and he's like, here we are living in Holland, and we taught them what living free means actually. So it's
رجال المغرب هالاحرار وشوف بهولندا شو صار صهيوني تحت البسطار وعاش المغرب عاش عاش المغرب
So
وحتى ينفيد الزعران ردد واحكي بالمالان فري فري بالستاين وعاش المغرب عاش عاش
So basically, what they're saying, yeah, free, yeah. But I mean, what they're saying is basically these are Moroccans who are free. We taught them how to be free in how we're free in Holland, and he's talking about how all these.
And they talking them they were wearing dresses. Someone was wearing dresses.
Yeah. And the Zionists, because they forced them to wear these dresses. So
we got to talk to our friend Martin in Amsterdam, because he's been talking about how there's people from his mosque who were getting arrested, and they didn't do anything. So we got to definitely link up with him and see if he can give us what's the current situation, because it still hasn't boiled down. It's still
no. Apparently, they're claiming that there are actually people. They claim that Israelis are claiming there are some Israelis that are missing, unaccounted for. So I don't know if someone's holding them hostage or something.
Well, then I guess Amsterdam's gonna be blown to bits then, right? Get to free the hostages.
And I don't know if you guys know, but it was funny how Israel was about to send evacuation planes.
They did send. They said.
No, I don't know if they did. They said they were planning to.
Did. They sent 3 planes.
Oh wow!
It's so ridiculous. Like these are the God. It's just.
We don't have time for it right now, but just go on Twitter and just look at the clips of these people, how they were acting before, and how when they were getting their butt whooped, how they sounded. They were screeching like schoolgirls, and it's funny because half of them were IDF soldiers. Actually, they're not just they're actually IDF soldiers.
The diaper force is back.
Yeah, and they were just like screaming, and one guy was like, "They took my pants off and beat me till my butt was red."
So let's move on to some good news. We have a gentleman who he's a YouTuber by the name of Sonny Faz. We had actually reviewed a few of his videos in the past where him and his mom are learning about Islam. He was one of these guys who were first enamored by Andrew Tate, and then later, as Andrew Tate became Muslim, he was starting to explore Islam as well. And he was trying to, have a lot of engagement with his mom on YouTube, where they're both learning about Islam and kind of shooting ideas back and forth, because they're both Christians, and if those videos became really viral. And we talked about it, and we talked about some of her thoughts about or doubts where she was having with her faith, and she had as well at least a deep connection to Christianity based on her family and everything. And I think a lot of our commentary was around like how close that Christianity is to many Christians, where even if you show them all the different problems with it, they have this connection to Jesus that they can't let go of, and they feel like they're betraying Jesus by having doubts in their faith. So a couple of weeks ago, I think he announced it on his YouTube channel that he accepted Islam, and it goes to show you, because for a while I just thought maybe you see one of those. It's not like I thought of him this way, but I was just wondering, kind of in my head, I'm like, is he just kind of milking it for the likes and the views? Because there are a lot of people, YouTubers, who are doing that, and may have joined the Muslim train to get all that ad revenue and all those clicks by discussing.
A lot of them do become Muslim.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. I think that one Christian guy, who's that one Orthodox guy, Bobby, he became Muslim. There's a lot of that have accepted Islam. Alhamdulillah. They're
open-minded thinker. That channel started off as open-minded Christian. If you've ever seen that channel, there's another one. There's one right now. I see it every now and then. I think they're called Han Meditation. I don't think they became Muslim yet, but they watch videos all the time talking about
here's the video with Sonny.
I just want to say the truth. I just want to say there is only one God. Obviously, it's not a 3-in-1 God that you never can explain. This is the only religion with one God. This is the final book that acknowledges all the other books. All the prophets worked for the same boss. I just want to say all these facts, but I understand as a revert that I heard these facts and they didn't do it for me. You know, I had to let the information sit in my head. I had to be around Muslim brothers. I had to push myself to learn more, to go to the mosque with the stinky brown people and put my head to the floor with them. You know, you have to make yourself uncomfortable, learn new things. Just because you are a white Catholic guy doesn't mean you have to stay that forever.
Yeah.
I just want to say.
So, yeah, but
It's a pretty meaningful thing.
That's a really profound thought that he had.
And it's a real thing.
Because you could make, and even Hamza's sources talked about this when he was becoming Muslim, where everything can make sense to you on an intellectual level. But at this point, Islam requires humility, and it requires your heart to and your soul to kind of humble itself to accept that. Everything can logically and using reason and all the faculties and the Muhammad hijabs of the world and everyone, you can get that dream team of Muslim apologetics on you and sort out your brain. But if you're not willing to submit, that it can't really penetrate your heart. And that's why there's so many people, like going back to the beginning of the podcast, you see people who are Quran teachers and doing the most unspeakable things. You know, these are people who the Quran never entered their heart. It comes out of their mouth, but it never traveled down their throat and into their heart. It never resonated with them. So, and Sources talks about this, where he had everything made sense to him, but then he had to get down on his knees and bow down, and he cried, and he had to really humble himself and ask God to show him the way, and that's when he was ready to accept. But what he's saying is 100% right. You can't just accept Islam on your own terms. Like, I want to be around my own crowd. I want to be around this specific group of Muslims that I feel like are representative of me. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be groups within, because the Muslims are so huge. There's obnoxious Muslims who are incredibly religious as well and sincere Muslims, but they just don't vibe with you, right? Sometimes they're just really like a bit hardcore, and they might really just every single thing that you do, you're always just walking around eggshells around them, and that's part of being in a big family, where you have to learn to love people, but also learn that, hey, you know what, they are people who need every single thing laid out for them in neat order. They need to know the answers for every single question, how to move, how to dress, every single part of their life has to be dictated by their religion. And you have to realize that, hey, that's the life they chose for themselves, and they need that. Every human being is shaped differently and needs different directions from their faith and different interactions or has different interactions with their religion. But not
just a quick shout out. We got Imam Mark in the chat.
Shout out Imam Mark. Assalamu alaikum. Love you, brother.
I was just telling Sim, by the way, Imam, that we need to get Imam Mark Manley back on the show.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about you the other day, and subhanAllah, Allah brought you to the live.
Yeah. Wallahi, he's not joking. We were actually having a phone conversation. Like, we got to get Imam Mark on again. It's been so long. But yeah.
But what happens is Sim talking about what you were saying. It's levels of humility, right? You have to you have to be humble enough to admit that what you believed in all your life is wrong. Number one, right? And then you have to get to a point to whereas you submit your will, because that's what it is. You enter the ultimate state of humility by submitting your complete will to the will of Allah.
Yeah. But I think also I think there's a big issue here too, and I think it's interesting that he mentioned that point, that he wants to say these things, because I think a lot of people who are not only reverts but people who are new, who are coming back to their religion, their knee-jerk reaction is to start getting involved in polemics. Yeah. And I think that's probably the worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, second worst. The worst absolute thing is going around those Qatar, those UAE guys, bro. What's that guy's name?
Oh, are you talking about
Faris, bro?
Oh,
that Faris Hamadi. He always, as soon as someone accepts Islam, he's just like waiting there. Him and his minions, like, oh, we can't wait to convert them to be government Salafis.
But my thing is that I think the reason why.
I think Sneeko distanced himself. I think he just met with him once and he just like left.
Well, I mean, to me that's a separate issue. I think a lot of people do want to, claim reverts because they want to bring them around, but my main thing is that I think with anything new, right? You've got to take time to process and settle in and understand. And some people are mad that he said, smelly brown people, right? And to be honest, I know that sounds offensive, but to a person who's never been to a masjid before or has been in a predominantly maybe a white area and a white church, right? Seeing so many brown people in one place, it might be that
a lot of them do
it's
smell.
not even that.
It's just be real here.
No,
a lot of them do smell.
They do smell, but he could just be using it as like a way to speak about how people's perceptions are of black people, like saying like, hey, this is how people say. Like people are so like wanting to find something like wrong about someone all the time. It's just
But what I'm saying is that we all have preconceived notions. I think is what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
Right. And if we don't come out of our comfort zone, I think coming and accepting a truth, no matter what it is, be it religion or not, right? Coming out of your comfort zone and being able to come to terms with knowing that what you believed or what you thought was actually wrong the whole time, and being humble enough to accept that and then process that and then act upon that. Yeah. Right, you have to be, and so you have to be in a certain mind frame and a mindset to do that, and that's why I say that some of these folks, when he talks about this, saying, "I wish I could go out and just say these things," and he doesn't. I understand that because polemics is not a good way to do that.
Oh, he does clarify it. He actually put up a follow-up tweet, and he says, "The irony in this is the irony in the." That video clip. The irony in this is that brown people are cleaner than most of y'all. We actually have to. He's even considering himself a brown person. We actually have to clean ourselves at least 5 times a day. Mosques are spotless inside. Yeah. So he obviously he didn't come from any kind of maliciousness, or people always are going to.
And to be honest, like I think it's okay to understand. Like I mean, it's okay because when people see something different, they're going to have their perception about it, right? This is what they're going to have, and I think the point that we're trying to say here is that you have to be able to come to terms with knowing that you were wrong. And that's very difficult for some people. And for some people, it's actually easy. But there are other things that hold them back, like family, like cultural traditions. What am I going to do? Am I going to have to lose my family? Am I going to have to lose my spouse? Am I going to alienate my children? Right? There are things that people struggle with, and in order for them to make the move that makes logical sense to them, they have to also see Islam in action around them, right? They have to be able to go, hopefully they go to a good community that has good representatives of Islam, right? Where they see Islam in action, see people taking care of one another, the brotherhood, they see people being kind to one another, right? These kinds of things, because the best dawah is in action, right? Words are, I mean, I think nowadays, with anything that we've learned, words are cheap. Right? What do we always say? Ad-dinu mu'amila, right? A religion of your actions, your dealings with one another. If people can say all kinds of things, but if they see a different action, if the actions don't align with the words, then you're really not going to get very far, right? And so I think for some people like that who are struggling with how much their life is going to change, they have to see this other life and how that looks like, and then. That helps them ease in the transition, if that makes sense.
Anyway, that's our show for this evening. Please help us out on patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks. Alternatively, you can help us out through PayPal by going to themadmamluks.com/donate. Please be sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Throw a comment in the comment section below with your thoughts related to this episode. We'll see you all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.